Do you think what kind of love can be regarded as true love? Perhaps it requires going through hardships and tests together, or experiencing life and death together. This sounds quite unforgettable, but blind true love might make people lose their eyesight and eventually walk on the road of crime. The couple we are talking about today are definitely true love. They have been going around for many years and got back together again. How originally thought this was a love story that shocked heaven and earth. Surprisingly, they actually committed several murder cases together, putting on the act of a deadly couple. Did they get blinded by love, or were they destined to walk on a road of no return? Today, the protagonists of the story are named David and Catherine respectively. This deadly couple liked to play the death game of catching love with the victims. They drove around the streets looking for potential victims. Generally speaking, weak women were their most satisfactory prey. In their relationship, Catherine also acted as a puppet. She wholeheartedly selected prey for David, became their sex slave, and decided the fate of the victims. Once the prey was tied and brought home, Catherine would quietly watch David commit rape, abuse, and sometimes even the three of them together. Then they would kill afterwards. This habit was already shocking enough, but here I have to reveal a detail. Catherine was not at an inexperienced age. She was already 35 years old and was the mother of 6 children. It's really outrageous. A mother actually committed such cruel things. Then between her and David, what kind of distorted origin was it? This has to start from when they met as teenagers. David and Catherine were both born in 1951. They both experienced a difficult childhood. David grew up in a suburb of Western Australia. He was the eldest child in the family. His father was disabled. His mother drank alcohol all day. At that time, there were endless rumors about this family. The mother was always in disarray. She never did anything at home, and even often had sex with taxi drivers to pay the fare. After a move, David and Catherine in their youth became neighbors. Poor Catherine lost her mother when she was 2 years old. She had to live with her abusive father. Naturally, she didn't have a good life, so it wasn't long before her grandfather took her back. But because the old man was in poor health, Catherine was sent to live with relatives again. So Catherine, who grew up in various families since childhood, felt no sense of security at all. So when David appeared, directly broke into her life, she had an unprecedented sense of belonging. And David was a talkative guy. He often chatted with Catherine, giving Catherine a novel feeling. She was deeply attracted by this boy in front of her. The two soon had a relationship. The good times didn't last long. David and several of his siblings were sent to different foster families. Catherine lost contact with him. When they met again, David was already full of stains. He had been in and out of prison several times. But even though she was implicated many times and had disputes with the police, Catherine didn't care at all. Her father couldn't stand it. He didn't agree with his daughter associating with someone like David. However, the more he opposed, the more inseparable Catherine and David became. The two even went together to steal the safe of the open-air theater, finally ended up in prison in a mess. In prison, a fake officer encouraged Catherine to leave David. Only in this way could she have a better life. After being released from prison, the official also arranged for her a job as a housekeeper at the McLaughlin family. When Catherine was 21 years old, she married Donald McLaughlin and gave birth to 6 children. However, in 1983, David and Catherine met again. Soon, their old love reignited. Catherine, who was possessed by the devil, chose to abandon her family and children and started to live with David. In fact, as an adult, David was addicted to pornography and had a serious sex addiction. In the eyes of the neighbors, this couple was very well behaved, but in fact, they were hiding at home and taking drugs, injecting anesthetics. According to David's friends, the witness even wanted to have sex dozens of times a day and needed constant satisfaction to stabilize his mood. However, their crimes gradually escalated. They were no longer satisfied with petty theft. Gradually, they had new fantasies of rape and murder. David told Catherine that if she could help him kidnap and rape, both of them would get the greatest satisfaction. However, whether for herself or to make David happy, Catherine actually agreed readily to this absurd request. And next, this deadly couple began a terrifying killing spree. In September 1986, David found a job selling auto parts. It wasn't long before a young girl, Mary, came to purchase some tires. She was a student at the University of Western Australia. With long brown hair, young and beautiful. This prey that came to the door on her own, David naturally couldn't let go. So he suggested that she could go to his home to select more favorable and newer tires. The knave Mary thought she met a good person, so she accepted this suggestion. On the night of October 6th, Mary knocked on David's door. As soon as she entered the house, she was tied to the bed. Under Catherine's watch, David raped Mary. Afterwards, David said that they must kill her in order to get rid of the crime. So the two drove and threw Mary into the forest of Glen Eagle. There, David raped her again. Mary did everything she could to stop it, but it was all in vain. In the end, David strangled her with a nylon rope, examined the body, and buried it underground. Then, on October 20th, 15-year-old Suzanne was hitchhiking on the highway and unfortunately met this deadly couple. Suzanne was smart and well-behaved. Her father was a respected ophthalmologist. This day, Suzanne finished her part-time job at the restaurant and got off work. Her father didn't come to pick her up as usual, so she decided to go home by herself. At this moment, a seemingly ordinary couple rolled down the car window and offered her a ride. Suzanne was hesitant at first, but there was a woman in the car, so she dispelled her concerns. But it turned out that her concerns were right. David took her home, tied her to the bed, and repeatedly violated her. Catherine saw it and was happy in her heart. She also suggested keeping her for a few more days. So Suzanne was forced to write a letter to her parents to tell them she was safe. Just like this, the three of them lived together like playing with their lives in the following days. But it wasn't long before David got bored with this girl and thought of strangling her with a nylon rope. But Suzanne resisted vigorously. The angry David gave her sleeping pills. While the girl was drowsy, David threw the rope to Catherine and asked her to prove her love for him. Catherine didn't hesitate at all and dealt with Suzanne just like the first victim. However, the relationship between David and Catherine didn't seem to be smooth. Among them, the appearance of the third victim made Catherine feel dangerous. She was Norleen Patterson. Norleen was once a flight attendant and later worked at a golf club. Between her gestures, you could feel her charm and elegance. On the night of November 1st, 1986, Norleen's car ran out of gas on her way home from work. When she was distressed, David and Catherine appeared. They offered to send her home first. Norleen also knew David. He came to Wallpaper a few weeks ago, so she got in the car. However, the terrifying thing happened again. Norleen was repeatedly sexually assaulted. This time, Catherine couldn't watch at ease. Her sixth sense told her that David was in love with this woman. After they detained Norleen for several days, David was reluctant to deal with her. Catherine was anxious. She threatened to die and asked David to make a choice between the two. David had no choice but to deal with Norleen as usual. During the process of disposing of the body, Catherine was very happy and sprinkled dirt on the body's face, viciously insulting her rival. Less than 3 days after this crime, a new victim appeared. His name was Dennis Brown. He was also killed while hitchhiking. On the way to the forest, Dennis resisted strongly. His willpower was quite strong. David and Catherine repeatedly stabbed his neck, but he still made a low groan. During the process of burying the body, Dennis sat up with his last strength. In the end, David smashed him to death with an axe. Because of this experience, Catherine was a little scared, because she always had a feeling that Dennis wasn't completely dead. On November 10th, they come the last victim, who was also the only surviving girl. She was 17-year-old Kate Moore. Kate was kidnapped at knife point by this couple and taken home for sexual assault, but Kate was very cautious. The medicine David gave her, she hid it under her tongue. The next morning, David left the house. Kate thought the opportunity had come. She deliberately hid her lipstick in the corner to prove that she had been here. And Catherine untied her restraints and forced her to call her parents. Kate, who usually didn't drink at all, told her family on the phone that she was drunk, so she stayed at a friend's house for one night, hoping this could attract their attention. Then Kate was taken back to the bedroom. Just then, someone knocked on the door. Catherine went to open the door before tying her up, and Kate took the opportunity to break the window and escape. She came to a nearby house to seek help. Finally, she was taken to the police station by kind-hearted people and told the police about her experience and clues. Soon the police arrested the two of them. At first, the two refused to plead guilty, until the detective induced David by saying it was getting dark and it was time to dig out the bodies and show them. David was very surprised, proudly blurted out that there were 4 bodies. Finally, the police found all the bodies. In 1987, at the trial, David and Catherine were respectively convicted of 4 counts of murder and 1 count of aggravated sexual assault and 1 count of deprivation of liberty. They were sentenced to life imprisonment. However, in prison, David and Catherine exchanged more than 600 letters. Definitely true love. But could their love really stand the test? The answer is no, because by 1997, Catherine cut off the correspondence for her parole. She also told the detective that she participated in the murder only because of David. Only in this way could she prove her love. But Catherine's parole applications were rejected many times. She may never be released. And on the other side, David was abandoned by the so-called true love. For this reason, he became ill. In 2005, he hanged himself. Fortunately, the last survivor, Kate, was very brave and very smart. Her escape successfully stopped their murder spree. If she didn't save herself, I really can't imagine how many more people this couple would have murdered. When this incident came out, many people criticized the police for not taking the missing girls seriously. If they could have taken action earlier, there might not have been so many victims. Nor would so many desperate parents have been involved. Think about the father who didn't pick up his daughter from work. Perhaps for the rest of his life, he will live in self-blame and guilt. But this tragedy is not his fault in the final analysis. Some people say that at the beginning of human beings, nature is good, while others say that at the beginning of human beings, Nature is evil. People are born as a blank sheet of paper. The growth environment in the future is the important reason that determines human nature. Take the childhood of Catherine and David, for example. If they could both be valued for education, distinguish good from evil, and right from wrong, then naturally they would make the most correct life choices. Well then, this video ends here. If you think the video is good, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.